Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to ditch the outdated beliefs, release the blocks, and fully embrace your sovereignty so you can confidently expand to allow more love, joy, and aligned success in your life. I am Niajae, your conscious accountability partner, reminding you that abundance is your birthright. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I am so excited about today's interview. We have Colin from Queer Cosmos. So I have been stalking him on Instagram forever, and he is here. He is here to talk about astrology, manifestation, relationships, all the yummy things that you know we love talking about. So before we dive into it, I want to ask you, Colin, what does abundance mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I cannot wait to chat with you. I think abundance is freedom. I think it's the ability to have many different choices. I think it's inner peace, but above all else, I feel it is freedom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yes. Yes. Freedom, baby. That's what we're looking for.
Exactly. So tell us about you. Who is Colin and how did Queer Cosmos come about?
Oh gosh. So Colin is, I'll speak in third person. No, I am an astrologer, but I didn't actually have any professional intention of becoming an astrologer. I just kind of surrounded myself with them. So I grew up in New York and I was constantly talking to people about astrology, personal growth, and spirituality in the city and in its outer areas. And it just really impressed me how much it would accelerate conversations, how quickly it would deepen my connections with other people, and how I could see would clarify both mine and their life really quickly. And then when I was like 27, 28, excuse me, I said, okay, let me just start a website and see what happens. And then 2 weeks later, Niajae, my current job fired me. So I
Mm.
had to kind of swan dive into this work. And I have been doing it for almost 4 years now, which is unbelievable. I cannot believe I get to do this for a living. Like, and the fact that I have, to the point of abundance, never made as much as I do now is like still mind blowing to me. I still can't believe it. I'm just so grateful every step of the way.
Yes, and you have such a beautiful way of combining like self-development and like one of the
Yeah,
people you quote is Esther Perel, who
I
really
love.
dives deep into like relationships and just like
Yes,
that. Just I love it. I love how you combine so many different things. So it's not just astrology.
right.
It's mindset, it's self-development, it's personal
Totally,
growth. So
totally.
yeah, what you do is amazing.
Thank you,
So
honey.
I do want to ask to clarify because I've had a couple of astrologers on and there's some people that follow Western astrology and
Yeah,
Vedic astrology.
yeah.
So what do you follow more or both?
I
Or
actually
one
would
or the
say,
other or both.
you know what I have to start saying now? Because I don't know if it's the Aquarius energy or what's going on, but I think astrology has gotten a little too caught up in the names of its belief systems and the
Mm.
validity of its separate practices. So I'm just going to say I'm a non denominational astrologer
I
because
love it.
I swear to you, like churches have come out from this, and you have to kind of protect the gospel. And I'm just like, I'm not here for any of that, to be really honest with you. Like in true Capricorn moon to Capricorn sun fashion, I'm not here for any of that. I am allegiant to the truth, providing people with personal insight, and helping them understand that the quality of life is determined by their quality of relationships. If we're fighting about how systems, degrees, Placidus versus this and that, it's like, girls, please, everybody. Like, there's so much more important things we need to be discussing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, personally, I'm a non-denominational astrologer. Yep.
Yeah, I had to ask because I actually am in a relationship with someone who does Vedic astrology, and
Oh,
I
great.
identified as a Capricorn my whole entire life, and then
Right.
he's like, "You're actually a Sagittarius, and your sun and excuse me, your rising and moon is um Cancer is Western, and then in Vedic it's Gemini."
Oh, wow.
So I
Okay.
get confused now, and I'm like, I'm a Capricorn Sagittarius. Like, I don't really know.
Right. And you know what's interesting, how you're bringing this up is something I was talking to about a friend with the other day is that ultimately, if we really want to use astrology as a potential tool for enlightenment, right? Like, really, just the unlearning of fear and the remembrance of a thought system based on love, right? I think the ultimate goal is almost seeing every zodiac sign's function as just as important as your own, and it bringing the all, right? Bringing Aries to Pisces in you. So, like, of course, you can have an attachment to Cancer, Sag, Gemini, all of those things. But ultimately, I think we can use astrology to transcend all that and
Mm.
say, well, what about Scorpio? What about Taurus? What about Pisces? Let me integrate all of this into me because ultimately we are one another anyway. You know
Oh
what
my
I'm
God.
saying?
Mic drop. You see, this is why I could not wait to have you on the show because just, I mean, how profound is that? I'm like, M&M's, go back and listen to that again. So profound.
But you know what I'm saying? And thank you for
Yeah.
that. But like ultimately, and that's where look at if we had conversations in astrology where it wasn't like, oh, screw those Capricorns and F those
Hmm.
Geminis, blah, 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 blah. And we actually said, wow, look at the way that Capricorn comforts us, but doesn't but and challenges us. Look at the way
Mm.
that Gemini uses their words and reminds everybody that you can change your mind and you don't owe anybody anything.
Yes.
Like, and
Yes.
if we really have these conversations of like, what are they meant to teach me? What is the rose meant to show us? What is the peony, the jasmine? Like all these different expressions of nature, they all serve a purpose. And when we see all of them as no more or less important than any of the other ones, I think we're playing a completely different game on the earth.
Mm. I love it. So if someone's never had a chart reading
Yeah.
and they're brand new to astrology, so learning from each sign, but what are some ways they can impact and grow and transform from receiving a reading?
Oh my gosh. Well, what it could do, especially around abundance, financial freedom, and personal development, is it could identify with relatively strong accuracy what are your emotional psychic needs? What are your strengths? What are your values? What are your spiritual convictions? Because I think people, when they begin this work, they're desperately hungry for personal insight. And personal insight largely untethered by external systems of oppression, of racism, patriarchy, of homophobia, all these things, and they can just sort of look at their chart and say, "Wow, so this little circle gives me permission to be all that I can possibly be, free from social external factors." Yeah, doesn't make it easy, doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but it can at least tell a story of like Niajae, here's a Capricorn sun. This is all that you can be in this lifetime. And isn't it amazing that this chart can tell the story of your highest and brightest outcomes, as opposed to the dominant thinking of the world that presumably tells you the complete opposite? So, I appreciate it in that way. It's a strengths based approach to personal development, or that's the way I would lean on it, right? And then people can go, wow, so I have the permission to be this way. I, as a Capricorn sun, I'm not, but I know you are, right? I, as a Capricorn sun, have the permission to, yeah, challenge people and kind of hit them upside the head and say, you can do better. And I'm not going to accept anything less than your impeccability, which is an unpopular place to be. And so when we know that this is our nature, just like the acorn is programmed to become the oak tree, just like the bird is programmed to fly, just like Niajae is programmed to become a Capricorn, I just kind of feel like, again, you're working with a different mindset. And that's what I want astrology to be for people is an invitation to A, self-accept the parts of themselves that they thought they needed to divorce themselves from, and B, the foundation for them to fly and soar at full wingspan.
Mm. So, as you were talking, the things that came up for me is one, self awareness. It's going to help you gain self awareness, which a lot of people aren't self aware. And I just did an episode about this how it's funny how people will say, "Oh, I'm a positive person." And you're like, I don't know
Funny
about
story
that.
about that, right?
And then self-acceptance. So you said
Yeah.
self-acceptance. So self-awareness so powerful. You have to be aware of who you are, how you're showing up, your
Totally.
strengths, your weaknesses, and then you can adjust accordingly. And then self-acceptance, just like me challenging people, I used to have a hard time with this because in the past I was afraid to ruffle feathers. And I'm just like, I know this person could be doing better, but I found that pushing some people before they're ready, they would
Yeah.
resent me for pointing out, hey, you can be doing better. So So it's something that I had to work through and navigate, but I also realized that this is also my magic because everyone that is in my life, I am inspiring them, I'm motivating them. I'm not the friend or partner that's going to let you settle. And now I take pride in that, when in the past I used to be like a little afraid, like I don't want people to hate me, but now I'm like, no, do better. And you need those do better people in your life. And so
You
now I
do.
own it. And then
100%.
I think the next thing that I heard you say is really knowing when you are not living to your full potential. So
Yeah.
knowing when you're settling.
Yes, no, I couldn't agree more. I'm just confirming. I'm like, and I think why we're connecting in this way is because you're a Capricorn sun and I'm a Capricorn moon. So we have like opposite luminaries, but the same zodiac sign. And Niajae, just like you, I would get into a lot of trouble when I would be like, you know what? I've heard you complain about this problem 3 times. What are you doing about it? And then the idea of responsibility, it was like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, who do you think you are? And then when I would hear people just kind of point the finger, 90% of the problems are all about everyone else. I'm like, but you're the common denominator here. So what's going on? And I would get into so much hot water for that. But then when I looked at my Capricorn stellium, it just sort of said, you know what? Who but me? Who but you? And now I don't really care.
Mhm.
And now we made a living out of it.
Right. Exactly, exactly. So really tapping into that power and using it. And I actually came across you from Gala Darling. I was
Ah,
in her membership, and you did a like a you did a talk at her, what do you call it?
Vortex Fest?
Yes, Vortex Fest.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, 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 yes. Love
And I
it.
was like, "Oh my god, I love him." So
Oh, I love
so
you.
so Gal is the perfect example of just
100%.
really capitalizing on your uniqueness, your special power, your magic sauce, however you want to explain it. So,
100%.
why do you think that some people are afraid to tap into their power?
Well, it's so interesting you say that because I'm actually in her house right now.
How funny. Oh
So,
my goodness.
hello, synchronicity, right? You can tell by the decor.
Oh,
Um,
and I was wondering. I was like, "Oh, I love this. This is fabulous. Whoever's house it is."
synchronicity, synchronicity. I think it's the Marianne Williamson quote, right? It's not our darkness that most frightens us, it's our light. Who am I to
Yes.
be gorgeous, talented, fabulous, intelligent, powerful? Who are you not to be? There's nothing enlightened about shrinking to make other people feel less small. And there's nothing spiritual about denying that you are anything less than an instrument and a power of God,
Mhm.
period. And I think that people, because of the world we live in, which it's so interesting, there's like this parallel phenomena, right? The external world has become even more punitive, even more scarcity based, even more sit down, shut up, shrink, shrink, shrink. And then there's this blossoming spiritual conversation that's like, that doesn't serve. Honor your natal chart or honor your gifts, your magic sauce. All different words are the same thing. And I think people are so terrified of unlearning the thought system that says, you're not enough, be quiet, and sit down.
Mhm.
And I think that when anybody involved in personal development says, hey, did you consider the possibility that there might be another way, comes onto the scene, you're essentially challenging their entire worldview. And then you get met with the, oh, easier said than done, da, 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 da. And I'm like, actually, what you're doing is really difficult.
Mhm.
How you're living is a real big challenge. And it's not necessarily difficult to be in our work or apply what our workings teach. I think it's just different. And I think that what's difficult is getting over our resistance to doing things differently.
Mhm.
And that's where people get like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, this is hard, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's where you and I could really help them is as Capricorn influenced people, we could say, the discomfort is not the enemy. And it's not difficult, it's just different. So let's walk through the transformation stage as you're doing it differently.
Mm, so powerful.
You
So I,
know?
I I believe that the unknown is scary. So a lot of
Yeah.
times people don't know what that higher self may look like. They don't
Mhm.
know what them in a powerful position looks like. Or, and when I
Mm.
say powerful position, like really tapping into your power, your personal power. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know
Yeah.
what responsibilities they have, and they're afraid to drop the ball. So if I
Yes.
if I step
Yes.
into the to this powerful version of myself, what
100%.
happens if I can't maintain it?
Yeah. Oh,
And I
that's a good
think that
point.
that is what really frightens people, because once I do it, then I have to maintain it. And that seems like a lot of responsibility to people.
You're 100% right. Is there more you want to say about that?
Oh,
Because
no,
I'm
go
all,
ahead.
oh,
No.
no, because I'm like all into that. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. You're right. There is the consistency piece. And I also think that what you're situating really beautifully is whether or not people have trust in themselves.
Mm.
I think the question that we're asking is, do you trust yourself to keep the momentum? Do you trust yourself to, if and when you make a mistake, because you will, do you trust yourself to embed the learning of that setback, disappointment, and failure into your personality structure and keep it moving? You know, and the reason why I was thinking of trust as you were talking is because one of my favorite researchers on trust, her name is Rachel Botsman. I don't know her astrology, but I'm assuming Capricorn Scorpio. But she says that it's moving from the known to the unknown. She calls trust a confident relationship with the unknown. And
Mm.
so when we are in a line of work and our clients are talking to us about uncertainty and ambiguity, we just have to ask them, do you trust yourself? Do you trust others? And do you trust a higher power whose intention it is that you become all that you can possibly be? That's what self actualization is. And then that's where the real rubber meets the road, I think.
So powerful. And I think that you doing readings and confirming in someone's chart, like, honey, you got this, it helps them. It helps them. So that's why I really love what you
Uh,
do. And I love how you frame everything. You talk a lot about the A Course in Miracles. And
yes.
so really tying that into astrology, we're all here to learn and grow and return to love. So there's going to be challenges along the way, but it's part of the
Yeah.
journey.
Yes, and thank you so much for seeing that because I'll be honest, I always get a little like, oh, I hope I'm not watering down astrology too much, or I hope I'm not, distracting other people. But Gala has really helped me understand. She's like, look, you know what? If you want to use astrology as your Trojan horse, do it. And I kind of feel like that is what I do, right? But I love talking about astrology and other things. But yeah, I think the real beauty of looking at universal spiritual symbolism across astrology, the vortex, really every, I should say Esther Hicks and Abraham, is that the universe and nature's sole intention, I really do believe, is that all things rise to their highest level of capability. All things, their highest level of creative manifestation for them in this lifetime through relationship and other people, right? And of course, the Miracles confirms this. Christianity confirms this. Of course, Miracles, I think I said that already. But a lot of different teachings confirm that. And I think that's why I love bridging them together to just sort of let them know you are supported. It will not be comfortable. Other people will help, but we can do this together, I think.
I
Yeah.
100% agree. And
Oh,
I do. That's the whole concept for this abundance. It's not just like making a lot of money, it's living an abundant life, because we are abundant beings. Like, abundance
yes,
is our
yes.
birthright. So really tapping into that. And I find that so many people still, like, they have this awareness, but like really embodying it. So
Mm,
what do you think is the difference in someone saying, like, okay, I want abundance, I want to live to my full
mm,
potential, I want to be the best version of myself, and the
mm.
the bridge, like that gap to them actually embodying that?
Oh, great question. I think it's a combination of faith and trust.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, because when you made the decision, what did you lean on?
When I
Did-
made
Yeah, I'm like, I'm talking to you now. We're supposed to be I know
putting
sign,
me on
but
the spot.
that's right. But when
Well,
you made that shift, yeah, what did you lean on?
I do trust myself. I know like I am a go-getter. I know that I have resilience to fall on my face and pick myself up and keep going. Because I fell on my face. I tell the listeners all the time, I have fallen on my face 1,000 times, but I
Same.
get back up and I keep
Hmm.
going. And every time I do, I take a moment to reflect, what did I learn from this? What did I gain from this? How did I grow?
Ooh, that's great. Okay, yes, yes, yes. And that's so Capricorn of you. You were like, I have resilience. I'm a badass bitch. Watch it. Okay. No, I love it. And I think what people need in those transitionary spaces is, yeah, just the feeling of trust and faith. And, I think if we're allowing ourselves to engage in the unknown, I mean, that's what The Hero's Journey is by Joseph Campbell, right? That's everything is uncertain. And I think that if we can, rather than minimize the risk attached to uncertainty, but instead choose to maximize our tolerance level with uncertainty, oh my God, that's another different approach that can be completely game changing. Is a lot of us, when we are doing something uncertain or we are doing something unsure, we want to minimize risk and we go into risk reduction mode rather than resilience mode. And I think that's something that we as Capricorn influenced people can teach others.
And another person that I know you love is Brene
Uh,
Brown, and she talks about courage. So having courage, having social courage, and really speaking your truth, sharing your truth, even at the risk of rejection or disapproval. So really standing in that courage.
yes, yes. And I think the courage of sharing, this is who I am and this is what I want to be. And you know what? I'm going to make mistakes. A lot of you are going to tell me how to do a better job. And I'm going to really commit to becoming all that I can possibly be. And if you have nothing helpful or empowering to say, get out of my face.
Mhm.
If you're a cynic and a critic, you can shut the fuck up. And I kind of have that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on
Oh, you
here.
are. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, like I'll just run it.
Unfiltered.
You're right, you're right, you're right. No, but I think that's also what stops us too, to be honest with you, is, oh God, what will other people say?
Mhm.
What will my parents think? What
Mm,
will my friends think? What about
mm,
my lovers? I think we often in our community we talk so much on personal and individual systems, which, do not get me wrong, are absolutely essential. And I would love to see us spend just as much time kind of sharing and disclosing. And this is how you have tough conversations with people where you tell them, I'm not really interested in your feedback
mm.
because I don't want it. I think it's uninformed. So
Yeah.
I think that also stops us too. Yeah.
Yeah, that healthy boundary is really powerful. And I think that there's a lot of people that would feel uncomfortable saying that I'm not really interested in your feedback, but I think that that is part of good communication. When someone comes to you with something asking, do you want feedback or do you want me to just listen? Are you interested in my opinion or do you want me to just be an ear or a shoulder to lean on? That's good communication.
Yes. And I'm just laughing at how Capricorn, like crystal clear you are. Where you're like, and it's also just crystal clear. It's like it's helpful to them, it's helpful to me.
Exactly.
No, it really is. And I think too, it is uncomfortable, but I also think it's us having the courage and the level of responsibility. I think the universe really responds to, are you taking 100% regulation and responsibility for what you will and will not allow in your energy? Doesn't mean it's going to happen, doesn't mean everyone's going to love it, but I've had to tell people who I love dearly and still love dearly to this day, thank you so much for your suggestion. I know you are coming from the place of just trying to help. Right now, though, given the fact that I'm doing something really vulnerable and really risky, all I need you to do is remind me of what I'm capable of, why you'll be here if I make a mistake, and why you think I can do this. If that's something you're unable to do, then I think this conversation is over.
Mm.
And then that was period, end of
Right.
discussion, full stop. And funny enough, that was actually, I had that conversation with my grandma.
Mm.
And she's a woman of a certain age and certain values and certain ideas. And when I was trying to start my astrology career, and she kept saying, well, don't you just want to maybe apply to a secure job and blah blah blah. And I know she was just trying to help. She did not want to see me fall flat on my face. And I kept telling her, like, Graham, I really don't need this feedback. And then later on, right? So for the full disclosure, she's a Roman Catholic, Brooklyn native, and a Virgo. So, she is a strong, brassy, broady woman. Okay. Wouldn't change anything about her. And about 6 or 7 months later, she said, I'm sorry I didn't like support you earlier. And she was like, I think maybe my problem is I don't dream big enough.
Mm.
And I know my grandma. And when I told my family that, they were like, Grandma apologized? Like, she did, and she came clean. And it's just amazing what can happen when you're just like so honest with yourself, so
Mhm.
crystal clear with other people. And now she is absolutely one of my biggest supporters and just can't
Mm.
stop cheering me on.
Oh my God. I
I
love that
know. Thank you for
story.
listening
Thank you for
anecdotally.
sharing.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think people often assume, like, when you get to a certain level that, everybody supported you, everybody believes in you. Not necessarily. And they
Yeah.
could have been people who loves you the most, but just didn't know what to do in those spaces. So I'm just telling people that it's okay if others who you love and who love you are just not necessarily giving the best feedback that you want, and how to have tough conversations to say, actually, this is what I want, this is what I don't want.
Mm. Yeah, so I two questions came up
Yeah.
for me. So one question, how can people gain more trust in themselves?
Oh, great question. Well, to be honest with you, I think it's asking yourself, like, what do you place trust in? Because I'll
Mhm.
tell you what, like, of myself, do I trust my human puny self? No. What I trust is a higher power.
Mm.
Honestly, I'm going to use the G word. I do trust God. I trust in energy. I really do. And when I started to see my life transform as I opened up to the possibility of a higher energy helping me, and within 2 weeks, I saw the effects of that energy working. Oh my God, I am always on my hands and knees in prayer and trust, always, because I was just like, I can't make this shit up. Like, when I was fired from my job, about a month and a half later, that's when Cosmopolitan magazine contacted me. And I was
Mm.
like, what? To write their horoscopes. And then, Niajae, on the last week of my unemployment, I got my first literary contract.
Mm.
Like, there is a God, let me tell you. And I know that word is uncomfortable for people, but just see it as the way Julia Cameron in The Artist Way defines it. And she said it is guided, orderly direction.
Mm.
God. So there is the idea that there is an orderly direction, a cosmic intelligence that wants to support you and all people to rise to their highest level of creative possibility. And if you ask, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? Every morning when you wake up, you will be guided through that orderly direction to be all that you can be. And you will develop self trust as a function of that experience. I absolutely believe
Mm.
that. Yeah.
So amazing. She's the one who does morning pages, right?
Yes.
Writing in the morning.
Yes.
So journaling.
Yes.
So I have a membership where I have a lot of journal prompts and it is so
Amazing.
powerful. So we're tapping into source. So whoever's listening, whatever higher being you believe in, your higher self, God, the universe, you're tapping into that for that divine guidance and trusting that we are divinely guided and divinely protected.
That's right.
And also knowing that everything's working out for our greatest good.
Yes, yes, which can be hard to consider, when we're going through financial, emotional, psychological, and relational malfunction. But even the malfunction, you can frame it as, yes, this sucks. We're with you in it. No one said it's going to be easy. And could it be ascertained that maybe the universe is highlighting places in your life that do not serve your highest and brightest? And this malfunction is the detox process, and you can hold on to things that don't serve you, or you can ask for faith as you release yourself from it. And I think what we need to sometimes remind ourselves is, it is unbelievable how much we cling to that which we've prayed to be released from.
Mm-hmm. It It's actually mind blowing
Yeah, it
how much
really is.
resistance. Like, I'm a huge Abraham Hicks fan, and she talks about resistance all the time. So, if
Yeah,
things are not happening easy or flowing, it's because we have resistance. It's because we're clinging to something that we do need to release in
yeah,
order for the things that we desire
yeah.
to come into our reality because it's already in the vortex.
Mhm. 100 freaking percent, right? And I think that's where our work is super helpful is like unpacking the resistance, not coddling it, and
Mm-hmm.
then having people choose different behaviors in the space of it, right? So that that which they can receive through all that the universe is and all that God can give can just cannot help but flow through them beautifully. And it takes space holders like us and others who are almost in shock that their lives have become what it's become, and we can tell them like, I know it's hard, but lean on my faith if you can't have this faith right now, because I have so much now, and just lean on mine if you need it. Yeah.
I love that. So, my
Oh, thank
second
you.
question is, how can people be unapologetic about their goals and desires? I have
Oh,
realized that a lot of people have guilt or shame
yeah.
or fear around their desires and their
Mm.
goals. And have you, I know I asked the question, but let me just
No, yeah, you're doing great. Love it.
So, have you read The Big Leap? And they talk about
No,
like upper limits. Oh, it's
no.
a good one. So we have an
Okay.
upper limit, like we have a fear of outshining, a fear of success. Like he talks about the different fears of
Yeah.
why people don't go after the best version of themselves and live to their full potential. So, how can people start to be
Mm.
unapologetic about what they want and their goals?
Oh my God, that is such a good question. You are so good at this. Well, I think what we would need to acknowledge is perhaps maybe why it's a problem. Because when I started learning about desire, a train is coming. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm like, and I'm in California, but I'm used to trains in New York. So when I hear them, I'm like, what the fuck? Right? um, well, I think it really helped me understand through the work of Esther Perel, who I know you just referenced, that desire is routinely surveilled and policed by, again, external systems, right? From racism to sexism to homophobia, et cetera. So when I started to understand that there was a connection between my desires and danger, in the sense that I can only speak for me being a cisgendered white gay man, that I realized that when, for as long as I was in the closet, which was 16 years, I would not tell people what I want, because if I did, I was successfully outing myself, right? So I couldn't tell folks like, oh, I really want to go see the Spice Girls. I really want to go do this. I really want to go do that, because the social script would be, that's not what a young boy should want to do. So I think most of us all have stories where, because of, again, external family, cultural programming, we've connected our desires to danger. So I think the first thing that really helped me was just the acknowledgement of that, like, oh, no wonder, right? And then I started to detangle wherever I would feel scared to ask for what I want, because what I realized is I was reacting from the parts of my brain where, oh God, Colin, don't admit you like this too much. No, no, right? And once I caught that and then actually said, no, I do want it and I want it unapologetically, oh my God, oh my God, did so much change. I mean, I got a Mars tattoo at Gala's Vortex Fest for that reason, because I actually think Mars is the planet that rules this conversation. And I started to really swan dive into the research of Esther Perel and other sex educators, because they're constantly inspiring people who are on the intersection of either multiply marginalized identities or who have just not been privileged through external systems, to own their wantings and name it without apology. But then I think too, what helped me is when I do that, that is what gives me energy, radiance, and life force. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to be unapologetic about saying what the fuck I want, because I want to be fully alive while I'm living. Thank you very much. Okay. And then, this little thing called a wholehearted, passionate life. And then what really impressed me was how other people would respond when I was fully in my desires and convictions. And if it made them uncomfortable, is that something I take personally? No, No, right? I know big Capricorn energy, right? I know. No, not about that's a you problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But it is still so interesting how to this day people surveil the wants and desires of others.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you need to A, mind your fucking business and worry about your goddamn self. That number fucking two. And number three, let these bitches live. What are you doing? Worrying about other people's business for free, which is stupid. I only worry about the business that puts money in my pocket. Thank you very much. And if you are going to surveil other people's desires, you got another fucking thing coming because you are wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my, do you know what I'm saying? That's my long-winded answer to what you just said. And if anybody knows astrology really well, I would say go no further than Mars in your chart. No
Mm.
further than Mars to really figure out how it illustrates your wantings.
What do you do for energetic self care? Life challenges us. However, we have tools to help us navigate the transitions, release trapped emotions, maintain positive energy, and expand to allow more joy and excitement. Abundant and Aligned Society is an energetic self care accountability program that helps you go from stress and anxiety, fight or flight, to operating from a place of abundance and alignment. Go to niajae.com/society for more information and start vibrating higher.
Do you know your Mars sign?
And not off the top of my head.
That's okay.
Not off the
That's
top of my
okay.
head, but for someone who's like completely clueless, what does Mars represent or control?
Yes, great question. So every planet in astrology has a kind of bailiwick over certain topics and arenas in our life, right? So the way that I look at Mars is it is the planet of wanting, desire, autonomy. So it regulates the space of autonomy that we need to safeguard and protect to understand our wantings, to understand our desires, right? So Mars, usually in other like Western other versions of astrology, blah, blah, right? They think that it's the planet of fighting and fornication only. Which,
Wow.
yeah, what, yeah, no, we from our Mars and we fight from our Mars. There's no doubt about it. But that's not the only two things it rules. I think it rules the energy of wanting and how good it feels to want, and when we want to want, and when we protect our autonomy in wanting, right? And so when a successful astrologer can look at your Mars placement from a strengths-based perspective, like so much can change. Like I was just telling Gala that one of the reasons why I want to be a multimillionaire several times over is because I want to help my family financially,
Mhm.
because I grew up lower middle class. My parents did not receive a whole lot of inherited or institutional wealth. They didn't go to college, all the things that you're supposed to do in America. And I have a Mars in Cancer. So Cancer being the family, the person who loves and adores his home. And
Mhm.
so I want to be so financially successful so that my parents do not have to stress. That's my Mars placement,
Mm.
you know? Go ahead.
It makes perfect sense to me because we're taught to fight for what we want. So it
Yeah.
to me like there's a shadow and a light of every planet.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes.
I can see how
Hmm.
the fighting and fornication is a thing in Mars because we're programmed to fight for what we want. But I think that there's a side of really allowing your desires to come into your reality and you don't have to fight for them.
100% I know that's true, right? And when we have a certain level of radiance and magnetism and the invitation for these things, I
Mhm.
mean, and I wouldn't even thought about the fighting for desire. So thank you, Capricorn reframe, right? Ah, that is so good. That is so good. But when we really do, we just sort of allow these things to happen through and for us. I mean, the permission slip we give to other
Mm,
people,
yes.
you know what I'm saying? And just because Niajae walked into a room and you're carrying an energy of like, I want it, I'm standing on it, I'm not aggressive, I'm not aligning with the adrenaline and the anger of Mars, I'm just allowing. And then I bet, not to get too TMI, but I bet your sex life is amazing because of that. Yeah, you don't have to confirm, but I
Look,
just
I'm
heard.
blushing. I'm blushing.
Right, okay. It's there. It's not the rose blush. Okay. No, so I bet your sex life is amazing. Your boundaries are on lockdown, right? Because you're not fighting for that. You're just, oh, I'm imagining it. I'm allowing it. I'm playing with it. How good is that? Yeah.
Mm.
That was such a wonderful frame. Thank you so much. I never would have thought about that. Thank you.
Yay.
Yay!
so
Learn something new.
I do want to dive a little deeper into this because I think that
Yeah, totally.
it's easy to speak your desires of physical or like monetary or material things like
Yeah.
okay, you know, I want $1 million house or I want this, I want that. It's easier, not saying it's not easy for everyone, but it's easier. But when it comes to things internally, I want to feel
Hmm.
nurtured, I want to feel
Mm,
support, I want a deeper connection. I think that's even harder than the
mm.
external things. So
Ooh.
diving
Okay, hot take. Okay, go ahead.
diving into some of the internal desires that we have and
Hmm.
how to know one, how to communicate it to people, and
Mm,
two, how to differentiate between things that we still need to heal maybe from our childhood and things
mm.
that we just inherently want.
Yes. Ooh. Oh, so your question is like, is there an astrological lens on perhaps the internal resistance to owning our desires? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, our internal desires and not
Yeah.
external monetary material
Beautiful.
things.
Beautiful. Well, actually, you're a Cancer rising from Western astrology, right, honey?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So you have a real strong proximity to this for several things. Number one, I would say across the board with astrology, if we are struggling to own our wantings, I'll tell people till I'm blue in the face, there is an autonomy crisis. So either you're around too many people,
Mm,
you feel too responsible for other people, you feel too compliant, duty bound, and I have to manage other people. No, the fuck you do not,
mm,
right? There is an autonomy crisis happening here. And then what I would say is, and this is the Cancer ruled consideration, is so much of what we're talking about is a function of radical self acceptance.
mhm.
And we could just we say it out loud and it sounds nice and like, oh, isn't that cute? But like, God, if we really just took the fucking time to keep it so real with ourselves,
Mhm.
we wouldn't struggle to say to other people, yeah, no, I want this. I want to be nurtured. I
Mhm.
want to be taken care of. Or actually, I want you to put me in a fucking timeout and say, do better and come out in a half an hour until you fucking learned. So, like, I want that. But I think that's actually a Cancer ruled concern is self acceptance. The reason why I think that's Cancer and why speaks to your strengths is because, like you were saying, the external attachment, right, or the external considerations. The way that I'm now trying to approach astrology in a post COVID world is imagining every single zodiac sign and energy as a psychological and emotional inclination, right? Because, like, for example, how did we talk about Sagittarius transits under lockdown where there was no school and we could not travel? Then what were astrologers supposed to do? So now what I'm thinking about is like, okay, self acceptance is home, and every Cancer rule transit inspires us to find home as a space of self acceptance, which we can all do regardless of where we are, what we're doing, what's happening outside of us. We can make the psychological and emotional instinct to feel, okay, home is a feeling, and that feeling is my self acceptance. And when I feel self accepted within myself and so at home within myself, wherever I go, I find belonging, and whoever I talk to, I find family.
Mm. Wow.
You know?
Beautiful.
Oh, and I have Cancer in my chart too, so that's why we're bridging in this way. We both have a Cancer Capricorn opposition in some spaces, and I think that's what I would love to have people do is like if you're struggling with the internal owning of the wanting, protect and safeguard your autonomy and ask yourself what agreements have you made to make you feel like you are legitimately responsible for other people. And in some spaces you are. Like, for example, I've told a lot of my friends, like, while I've lived with my grandma, I've sort of been her caregiver, and not sort of, like, absolutely I've been her caregiver. So that can be hard as it's bumping up against my autonomy. But other than that, I'm really not responsible for anybody else. And unless you're a parent or a caregiver, you're really not responsible for anyone else.
Mm.
So what does it mean to safeguard and protect your autonomy? What parts of yourself haven't you fully self-accepted? And what can you do during Cancer transits to inspire that radical acceptance and then speak on it in real time to people who you're in those experiences with?
Mm. So when are Cancer transits? Like
Yeah,
just
you're like, when does this happen? Because
I
I
know.
I want to work the whole time. No. Well, right now this is being recorded on June 17th, so the sun enters Cancer this Sunday on June 19th.
Mm.
So on Father's Day in America, as it's being celebrated there, which is funny because Cancer is the mother. And then really we have the moon entering Cancer every 28 and a half days. Mars was in Cancer from April 26th to what was it, June 13th. So just recently. So we have a lot of Cancer influenced energy. You know, Venus is in Cancer right now. Mercury will enter Cancer in July. And so that's what I would love to have people ask themselves is why have I made home an externally defined circumstance when it is in fact a function of my most complete self-acceptance?
So powerful. You mentioned Mercury, and I know
Yeah.
that like Mercury retrograde is a time where like
Yeah,
everyone
like
is
right
freaking
now.
out.
Like right now. Oh my God. Yeah.
So my take on Mercury retrograde is it's bringing things to surface. The stuff that we've swept under the rug, the stuff we've stuffed in the back of the closet, it's bringing it to the surface, and it's a beautiful opportunity for us to take a really good look, review everything, renew, review, rejuvenate, all of the
Oh,
things.
oh, oh, go ahead.
All of the rewords, and
Yes.
really it's a beautiful opportunity to heal. So I'd love to hear your take on Mercury retrograde.
Well, honey, you just killed it. Like you just landed, you know, the gymnastic things 10 out of 10. If I was the judge, I would do this. Like my take, how do I follow that? Okay. No, but I just cosign confirmed. Yeah, no, really. And I love that you said it brings up the stuff that we put in the back of the metaphorical closet. There is no doubt in my mind that is true. And usually when I look at people really struggling with Mercury retrograde, I'm like, sweetie, have you been paying attention while Mercury was direct? Because let me tell you something, okay? When Mercury turns retro, it usually can only confront us with shit that we've been shoving under the rug, like you said, you know? So I try my best to, just as Mercury goes retrograde, be completely open to surprise too. Like what's been really funny, I was telling my Gemini friend this yesterday, is that over the last 7 months, like my life has been so compliant to a calendar because of readings, because of my family, because of this, because of that. And then the minute Niajae, the sun entered Gemini, and Mercury went retrograde in Gemini too. Oh my God, it turned that whole thing upside down, right? And I've been like frantically trying to like move these moving parts because I got these wonderful professional opportunities that sent me in all these different places. But now I'm in different time zones and I don't know what day it is and I don't know what's going on. So I'm like totally at like in a completely different, non-compliant to a calendar mode. But what this speaks to through the universal Mercury retrograde experience is like, how do we get surprised by the universe? How are we open to the possibility of other possibilities? What do we do when someone calls us and says, can you be in Austin, Texas in a day? And you're like, what? Right? I don't even have sunscreen. You know, it's like, well, what do we do? And that's what I love about Mercury retrograde is it just surprises us. Like I have just been so surprised by life and it's been really beautiful. But you're absolutely
Mm.
right. It's review time, it's rejuvenate. And you know what's in true Capricorn moon fashion, Niajae? I have never put rejuvenate in a horoscope. So thank you for giving me that word. Because I'm like, you need to review, reassess, return, reprogram, you lazy motherfuckers. You know? So thank you for giving me like a little bit of a softer word. And I will put it in my horoscopes forevermore. You couldn't
Oh
have said
my
it
God.
better.
I
You couldn't
love it.
yeah.
When I'm reading your stuff, I'm gonna be like, oh, I gave him that idea.
You did, I know, and I'm gonna hyperlink you, and people are gonna be like, "Is that like her program?" And I'm just like, "No, she just told me, just do it, just rejuvenate, just rejuvenate."
Oh my goodness, I love it. And I love that you said allow Mercury retrograde to surprise you, because I think that sometimes like we have desires, like if we're not actually honoring our desires, but the universe knows because it's the energy, it's energy we're putting out. Sometimes the universe literally hands things to you on a platter, but it's
Oh
like,
God,
are you ready? Are you ready?
yep. And if we haven't been doing the self-accepting thing, the
Mhm.
autonomy thing, oh boy, will we blow it. You
Mhm.
know, so oh, that you couldn't have said it any better. And I think what's beautiful about a retrograde experience too is it furthers us to say, you know what, let me not take myself so seriously. I could stand to be light on my feet. I could stand to allow myself to receive these things. And gorgeously said from you is, isn't everything in the universe just an expression of desire?
Mhm.
I mean, that's what Aries is, right? The first sign in the zodiac, born in the cardinal fire. So they are given life through wanting. And we're meant to take the wanting and desire with us throughout the rest of the zodiac's exploration. So, no, you said it beautifully. You really know your astrology shit, let me tell you. You
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah, you know it. You know it.
Oh my goodness, I can talk to you forever, but I don't want
Likewise.
it to be like too long. So I'm going to wrap up with one final question.
Sure.
So, what are your top 3 tips for living an abundant life?
Ooh. Make peace with the paradox,
Mm.
number one. Like what I've really seen in my life is I have abundance when I can want two things at once that compete with each other.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Interesting.
yes, I know, such a Gemini answer, right? No, so
I'm like, tell me more, expand on
what
this
is
one.
this? What is this? What is this? What are you talking about? No, like my values, for example, are autonomy and connection. And I'm definitely a little bit more comfortable in the connection piece, right? Like my people are my people, and I love my friends, my family, my coworkers, my clients. Like I'm all about making sure that I show the fuck up for my people, and that does give me an abundant life because, given my social landscape, my life is very wide and very deep. It's unbelievable. I love other people. I really do. I'm in love with others. There's no doubt about it. The autonomy value, though, is hard because it's like, oh, girl, just get in your car, put your fucking phone on airplane mode, and drive for 2.5 hours and don't respond to anybody. Just go to the water, get your fucking acai bowls. I love an acai bowl moment.
Oh, me too.
But
You
right,
already
me
know. You
too.
already
Yeah,
know.
right. I do. We'll get one together.
Yes.
And just like, girl, do you. So, and the fact that I've given myself peace to have those contradicting and competing polarity wants has given me so much joy, so much joy. And just big middle finger in the air energy. Like, I don't have to explain it to you. Yeah, I want to be with others and I want to be left alone. Figure it out, So number one. Number two, you can't talk about abundance without talking about gratitude.
Mhm.
So I just try to anchor myself in the disbelief that this is what I get to do for a living with tremendous gratitude for God, the universe, higher power, whoever, who I feel like has made so much of it happen for me because I just cannot believe it sometimes. So I just anchor myself in gratitude. And then three, I sort of said it in the first tip, but it would be, what are you doing to serve others? Because just like the universe loves to be of service to others, they love to be of service to me, introducing me to you. And you were telling me about Mars fighting for desires. I will never talk about Mars without that insight now, and I will always attribute you. But that was just a gift that you gave to me, just sharing your information, sharing your feedback, and like the way that the universe works through service and works through generosity of others. I think we always want to ask ourselves, like, what are you doing to help? My One of my Virgo friends has an aunt who said that when you're nervous, be of service. So, and she's from Long Island, so that's where the accent comes from.
No, I love it. I was born in New York, so
No, I didn't. Where?
yeah, I was born in the Bronx.
Oh shit! Where in the Bronx?
So I'm from the hood. So
Don't worry.
I went back and forth between my grandmother and my great grandmother. So one
Got
lived
it.
in Soundview and one lived in Patterson. So six
Soundview and
train.
Patterson. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, on the sixth. Okay, yeah, I have friends from Morris Park, South Bronx. Um, God, where else? I think it's just those two places. But amazing. So you know the vibe. You know the
Yeah.
the Long Island tacky women. If you're nervous, be of service. So that's what I would say would be those three things. Make your life really make of service to others, like really meaningfully of service to others. Ground yourself in gratitude, and absolutely make peace with the paradox because we can want both.
Yes, yes. I have to share this with you. So
Please.
I in my last episode I was talking about alignment and I talk about hedonic and eudaimonic happiness. So we have hedonic happiness where it stems from the word hedonism and that's all about self. So this is me wanting the big house and exotic vacations and the Christian Louboutins, et cetera, et cetera. So that's for self and that's okay. And then we have eudaimonic happiness that's all about serving, giving back, doing something that is making an impact in the world. So to me, you want to find the balance between the two. There's nothing wrong with wanting a luxurious life.
No.
And we also want to serve. And I always say serve from your overflow because
Oh yes, honey.
one of my favorite quotes is you can't pour from an empty cup, so you
Yeah.
have to take care of you. So making sure that you're filling your cup, so while you're serving from your overflow so your cup does not become depleted.
snaps. Yes, honey. Can only give from your overflow. And I love what you were saying, like giving back to others, because one of my favorite lines that I think is in a Psalm something from the Bible, but it's what can I give back to God for all the blessings it's poured out onto me? Ooh, yeah, I am always thinking about that. And then also, yeah, like, what kind of house do I want? What kind of car do I want? Like, what could be in both? What could be in both? So I love the way that you framed that. That was beautifully, beautifully said. You're an amazing spiritual teacher. Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
and I remind people, because we have so many people, like, especially I do sound healing. There's a lot of like sound healers, sound therapists that feel like I have to serve, I have to serve, I have to serve, but it's an ebb and flow. It's okay to want and desire as
It
well.
is.
Like, you have to replenish your cup to be able to continue to serve others. So,
There is no doubt in my mind that we need to remember that. And I think, especially for anybody who's not a straight, white, cisgendered, able bodied man, we really have to remember that. So you couldn't have said it better. Absolutely.
oh my goodness, I absolutely love chatting with you.
Likewise. Likewise. This was a wonderful start to my morning, truly.
Oh, awesome. So where can people find you online?
They can find me at Queer Cosmos is my Instagram handle. I'm going to open up some spots for readings in July if they want to keep an eye on that. I have a waiting list on my website there. They can buy my books, help me pay my student loan financing. They could do that. They could. I have 3 books out, so buy them all.
So
Um,
tell us your website, and then also the
yes.
names of your books.
Yes. So queercosmos.com is my website. Thank you, Capricorn. And the name of my books are A Little Bit of Astrology, Queer Cosmos, and Gemini. So you can get Gemini for the Gemini loved ones, Queer Cosmos for the astrology of queer identities, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the first book, called A Little Bit of Astrology, just kind of summarizes key concepts in astrology.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And are those available on Amazon?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to
Okay.
put the links.
Thank you. Thank you,
I will put
Capricorn.
the links in the show notes so you can definitely check him out. I follow him on
Great.
Instagram. I stalk his Instagram because everything that he says,
Oh,
I love.
oh.
And I love that you throw in like comedy as well and a little Britney Spears.
Come
So
on.
literally everything. I'm just like, yes, Colin.
Because we really should not be taking this shit so fucking seriously.
hmm
Like, relax, everybody. So that's why I was telling you before. I'm a non-denominational astrologer. Like, relax. You'd think some of these astrologers have the nuclear codes and are defending the Pentagon. Chill, chill. Yeah, so
Oh
I
my
love it.
goodness. I love it. Thank you so
Thank
much. You
you.
are
Thank you.
amazing.
Takes one to know one. I'll see you soon.
All right. Until
Bye.
next time, M&Ms, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.